So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. This is Coffee Talk Live, having a discussion about what's going on in the world as it is, or what's in the news today. And of course, this is at Coffee Talk Live if you're looking for me on YouTube, as well as Prepper University on YouTube, or at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter. And fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. And there you saw, I got a couple of my little friends here keeping me company. 1 and 2. There's little Miss Granny Smith again, and Uncle sitting over there in the corner. That's Uncle in the corner. That's Uncle in the spotlight, losing his religion. As we get ready to dive into what's going on in the news, and I'll read a few articles here. And of course, if you are listening and not able to see, I do read as many of the comments from the live portion as possible so that you can keep up with the conversation. And I'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that have chimed in here thus far. I see Delo is here. Kathy is here. Helter is here. Dragon. Keisha. Urban Angst, Fluke Man, All People, Preparedness Veteran, Bingo, Monkey, Boogers have all popped in thus far, and there may be more to come, or more that may want to address the stream, that is, as we get ready to pop off here. And this one, don't even know if I want to bother to read the article, but I will show it because it's something that comes up more and more and more all the damn time. And I'm really sick and tired of hearing about it. And it's AFP here. U.S. lawmakers race to avert nightmare of Thanksgiving shutdown. Again, didn't we just avert a shutdown like 2 weeks ago? The gaps between their alleged shutdown red flags are getting tighter and tighter. It was literally like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? And I'm supposed to buy this. I'm supposed to believe this over and over and over again. And again, it's come up from time to time in the past. There could be a shutdown. Never even got close. Now, really, since the Obama administration, it's happened more and more frequently, to the point now where it's literally weeks apart between them. All year it's been like this. And I'm supposed to believe this? I'm supposed to trust that? Or is it that your money management is that bad? And that's our tax dollars you're wasting. I mean, seriously. And Helter says the only thing lawmakers race to secure is their paychecks and lobbyists under the table freebies. No kidding. This is ridiculous. All the time I've got to hear about this. Oh, another shutdown, another one. It's kind of like a sci-fi movie, and you're in a time loop, and every time that it loops, the distance between the time gets shorter, so you have less and less time to figure out what's going on. That's what it is. It says U.S. lawmakers were to vote Tuesday on a stopgap funding bill as the government teeters on the brink of another shutdown crisis at a time of deep divisions over funding for Ukraine and Israel. How about you just quit sending our money overseas? You're funneling money everywhere. Forget Ukraine and Israel. How much are you spending everywhere else? We're giving money to pretty much every country on the planet, except this one, unless it's for migrants. Where's it going? And where are you getting it from? You're getting it from us. You're taxing the life out of us. I mean, seriously, no money management, no oversight, no control. They need more. They just raise some more taxes or come up with a new one or regulate something else. It's insulting. And what are we supposed to do about it? Start throwing tea in the river again? Fluke Man says, did anyone hear about San Francisco cleaning itself up because of Xi Jinping? Yeah, I did hear that. I have something on that, actually, that I'll talk about in a little bit. And Deanna is here. Glad you could make it. Preparedness says, no threat of the annual turkey shortage. Well, I mean, they are culling them. They are culling flocks of turkeys as well as chickens. The FDA says they have bird flu. And like, yeah, sure they do. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't trust it. I don't know if there's a shutdown or not. I can't trust that. Why are they always having a shutdown? Monkey says that was meant to hold off for 45 days, a month and 15 days, assuming a month is 30 days. And Dragon says a government shutdown is just a paid vacation for government employees. They still get paid. All People says the threats of shutdowns are made in an effort for them to try to justify they're taking advantage of taxpayers while using emergency shutdown threat as the excuse. We have to have a shutdown. We need more money. We need more money. And we're going to take it right from you. So dig deep, Americans, into your pockets and give till it hurts. They already are. You already are giving till it hurts, aren't you? It's absolutely makes no sense. Makes no sense. And Deanna says, like a toddler, have yet another meltdown. Yeah. They act like children. They act like they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing it to us. And it's not like we can have another revolution. Okay? That was a fluke. I hate to break your heart if you're an American and you're all behind the whole 1776 thing. That was a fluke. Okay? There was no communication. That's primarily why England gave up. Plus, they were already in a conflict with France. So it's like, we can deal with this right here, or we can wait 6 months to hear something by ship to see how the last campaign went. How long are we supposed to keep funding this? Let them keep their little mud pit in the middle of nowhere. They had no idea how big the Americas were or what was here. And so they gave up. They're like, it's not worth it to keep. The logistics of it were impossible. Oh, we'll just keep sending ships, and then maybe it'll work out and maybe it won't, and then we'll get a letter back in 6 months, 8 months from now telling us how the war's going. And oh, here's another letter. They need more men and more money. How long are we going to keep it up when we get France on our border? No, it's not worth it. It was a fluke that we won the Revolutionary War. All right. It was, like I said, bad logistics is why we won. But people think we're going to do that again. The logistics is dialed in now, trust me, with all the electronics and everything. All People says Joe Biden made sure the Iranian citizens had their health care and pensions. Or he mean Ukrainian. I see what he's saying. Healthcare and pensions protected at the expense of the American citizens. That's right. And Raccoon Eyes has joined us. Urban says San Francisco Potemkin Village tours. I think it's marketable. Cruising says war with France, unrest in India, South Africa, looming troubles at home, incredible expense. We were essentially there, Afghanistan. Yeah. Oh, yeah, fluke, war with France, unrest in India, South Africa, looming troubles. He's talking about the American Revolution. And All People says, at this point, Congress has become as honest and fiscally responsible as a televangelist. I think I would be, I would trust a televangelist before I trusted people in Congress at this point. And that's saying something. As we move along here, and we'll move into the New York Post. This is important. Said Staten Island officials blast cuts to school safety agents as New York City migrant spending soars. So in order to spend more on migrants, they're eliminating a division of their school safety officers, which means basically armed school police. Staten Island elected officials blast Mayor Eric Adams' administration's decision to cancel the new class of 250 school safety agents, complaining that the massive spending on the migrant crisis is now undermining services to the city's citizenry. The borough's leaders urged City Hall and New York Police Department to reinstate the trained class of school safety agents to address youth violence and concerns about terrorism while the Hamas-Israel war rages in the Middle East. There's nothing more important than the safety of our children. Yeah, I really believe that. And this is part of a dangerous trend that the mayor has been setting for the city. We are seeing a reduction in the New York Police Department overall. We're seeing less cops on the street. less detectives being able to solve crimes, to put people behind bars. And now we're seeing a 25% less safety agents than they were pre-C virus pandemic. Congresswoman Nicole Malotokis said during a press conference outside IS2 on Monday. Where are we here? Because it jumped. And I want to make sure I'm in the right place. She noted that serious felony crimes in public schools jumped to 16%, and many of the violent incidences take place around dismissals right outside the school where safety agents patrol. Malatakis said it defied common sense that the mayor is cutting services and has imposed a hiring freeze while abiding by the ridiculous right to shelter policy for new arrivals that is costing the city billions of dollars. Borough President Vito Fossella said it was a case of "I told you so," nothing, noting here and other island officials had said some months ago that the cost to shelter and care for tens of thousands of migrants was they skipped it off, was unsustainable. There it is. I hate how it jumps around. So in order to come up with more money to take care of their migrant crisis, they're going to cut off the 250 school police officers, security officers that they were bringing in. And that's probably replacing the ones that they fired for refusing to take the jab. Because a lot of people were fired from professional jobs, including in law enforcement, in nursing, in the medical profession, firefighters, for refusing to do that. They culled a lot of people from those professions, and now they need to bring them back now that the mandate is gone. And his solution is to cut security officials from the schools. And then who's going to take the blame the next time there's an incident in one of those schools where somebody gets killed? Who's going to do that? Bingo says that the Fed just said they're afraid to cut interest rates too quickly because they don't want to lose their credibility. Yeah, what credibility? All people said, seeing that some say the U.S. is still paying off loans to the Bank of London from the Revolutionary War. Has it ever truly been free from the UK? Are they? And somebody else was saying yesterday that the UK just finished paying off loans from World War II to the U.S. Urban says a Potemkin village is a pre-Soviet Russian phrase meaning a construction whose purpose is to provide an external facade to a situation to make people believe the situation is better than it is. And that's been done many times. They did it in New York, way back in the 80s by putting up cardboard photographs of windows on broken and boarded up windows in New York boroughs. And they did it in Kansas when Bush visited way back when he was still president by putting up facades of houses in front of actual houses, like a whole stage set. Dragon says in New York City would rather spend money on illegals than on New York students. Well, they're not learning anything anyways. They may as well not even go to school. Fluke Man says, I was watching Matt Walsh. He said if 50% of government workers got sacked, they'd still be able to operate as normal. Surely not. It can't be that bad, right? Actually, it's probably worse. Bingo said it's probably closer to 75%. There you go. And I see Spectre, Cyberjack Sr., and Stewart have joined us here today as well. So, yeah, that's their solution. Get rid of school security officers, 250 of them. 250 that were being brought back to the schools. So, yeah, go ahead and cut up in the New York City public schools. Nobody's going to stop you now. Help yourself. Help yourself. Knock yourself out. So, anyways, as we move around, we'll bounce back to Georgia because this is still going on. And there was a big riot here, actually, yesterday. And this is from Tag 24, which is local news. Local Georgia news. Stop Cop City march halted by violent riot and police crackdown. They started it. They marched for a couple of miles and showed up at so-called Cop City and fought with cops. Some of these people wearing hazmat suits and goggles and stuff because they knew they were going to get tear gassed. Hundreds of Stop Cop City activists gathered at a park on Monday morning before marching toward the Lithonia Forest, the site of a planned 90 million 85-acre facility law enforcement training complex. Now is not a time for cowardice. You are either with the oppressed or with the oppressors, community organizer Kamanu Franklin said at a rally ahead of the march. Stop right there. This is the biggest problem in the Western world right now. You are either the oppressed or with the oppressors. No gray area. You're with us or you're against us. You're on our side or you're automatically our enemy, with no understanding, complete narrow-mindedness of thought. And that kind of mindset is destroying the Western world. You claim to be all-inclusive. You claim to be understanding. You claim to be cooperative, but everything is towing that line, and you want to destroy it and anyone associated with it. It makes me think of the French Revolution. Anybody here ever read Tale of Two Cities? It's a great descriptor of how things went. It wasn't enough for them to execute all the aristocrats, okay, that they felt were oppressing them. They eventually, the citizens of France became as bad or worse than their oppressors. It wasn't enough. Then it was all their servants, and they wanted to execute them. Then it was anybody who knew them. Then it was anybody who was denounced by a prominent citizen, if there was any left. That the us or them attitude is destructive. So I don't agree with their protest, so I'm their enemy now and I'm with the police. I'm not with the police, but I think it's a better idea for them to build on their own land where there's already law enforcement buildings than to spend twice as much to do it somewhere else, because it's going to get done. And then you complain. The main complaint is, wow, these police don't need any more training. But then if anything happens, your main complaint is that they're not trained well enough. So which is it? Which is it? Bingo says, thankfully, they're hiring security at my local school that I volunteer at, but they don't want to pay them anything. I think $16 an hour. Meanwhile, the secretary is making close to $100,000. Wow, $16 an hour for security. Good Lord. Bingo says, and that's not an exaggeration. I was wondering, but I get tired of this. And then you're making it even more expensive because you're being so violent. Again, there's been Molotov cocktails thrown in the past, rocks, bricks. There have been shootouts between police and protesters. And who the hell are these protesters? Because they're not from Georgia. They're from other states, even other countries. They've come from France. They've come from Canada, from all over the damn place. What are you doing here? Continuing the article, this is the quote from the organizer again. Kamanu. What is he, Samoan? He says, you cannot stand in the middle. You cannot be on both sides. You cannot close your eyes to the terror of policing that happens in this country and in this world. And you cannot deny and cannot be silent on the capitalist economics of the system that controls all of our people across the world. But bottom line, you people are no better than what you claim you're trying to fight. Protesters who included indigenous communities, Black Lives Matter organizers, and environmental activists were about half a mile from the destination when they were reportedly stopped by police in riot gear and targeted with tear gas, pepper balls, and flashbang grenades. And I saw some of that parade. And they had all Black Lives Matter signs. It's like, well, what are you doing here? Like anybody trusts you. Urban says the with us or against us attitude of the regressive left is a perfect complement to the Islamic world's philosophical underpinning of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yes. And preparedness says he's got to reboot. I guess he's having problems. And I have a video clip of this. I think this is a clip, if I can pull it up real quick. And I'll show this to you as well. Because the march is like I said, they have all like Black Lives Matter signs and stuff. And so is it a Black Lives Matter protest? Or what the hell are you people protesting? And this is them out here on the site, making a mess. And the police are ready for them because they've been going through this for like, what, 2 years. Here comes another crowd to throw bricks and firebombs. So let's get the riot police out here.
Army family Liz and Mike might be mid-move.
Put an ad in the middle of this. Oh my God. Come on, get back to the video clip. Thank you. And they're gonna defend it. And here's the they mention it here. It says marchers wore masks, goggles, and chemical suits intended to protect against tear gas. Officers pushed back and then later deployed tear gas, which is not what they said in the article. They know these people are coming there to start trouble. They know they're going to destroy equipment. What are they supposed to do? What are the police supposed to do? Let them go in there and wreck more equipment, cause millions of dollars worth of damage? And this is the march, and you see all the Black Lives Matter right there. Let me back that up. Black Lives Matter. This sign says abolish the police. Yeah, and then the first one you need one. First time you need one, what are you going to do? You going to call your neighbor? You going to call your mama? Is she going to come help you? 400 people marched 2 miles. And that guy had a sign that said stop Coca-Cola. Did you see that? Did you catch that one? Let me back up. I don't know. For those of you who can see, here it is. Stop Coca-Cola. And this one looks like, this one says stop AT&T. Oh my God. And then you see all the people in the chemical suits. And hey, hey, ho, ho, Cop City has got to go. Can we get a new chant? Is everybody got to do hey, hey, ho, ho? Nothing original. Nothing original. I tell you what. And I see R. Frost has made it. He says, afternoon from Montana. Bingo says it's a struggle to live here for anything under 22 if you have overtime. Still talking about what they're trying to pay security officers where he is. R. Frost says, did you see the story of Rancho about the 15 black kids beating? Yes, I have something on that also. I was going to talk about that today. Fluke Man says that's terrible. Monkey says that stuff is what militarizes the police to a point where they've even got drones out on duty now if it comes to chasing criminals. That's going to force the escalation of the police. If you're going to go there and cut up, what are they supposed to do? Monkey says, got to wonder how close the police department will go until they recreate the Kent State Massacre. And Cruising says, originality requires creativity and intelligence. Good point. Urban says, in the spirit of fairness, his sign should have at least said, stop Coke and Pepsi. Yeah, I know. He's not being inclusive of other brands. Stop RC Cola. Stop Mr. Pibb. And All People has a few things to say there about Black Lives Matter. He says Black Lives Matter. But I'll let you go ahead and take a look at that. And I do have a couple of people have brought up some things that I was going to talk about. Preparedness says if that's their counter argument level of intelligence, we have nothing to worry about. Looks like a day out for bored idiots. Yeah, but they paid a lot to get there because, again, almost none of them are actually from Georgia. What are they doing here? Get the hell out of here. Go protest in your own community. Go back to France. Remember, when they when they were burning the construction equipment, and I mean like heavy moving equipment, backhoes and stuff, and they arrested some, God, what, 40 people, 50 people, whatever. Half of them were from Canada and France. It's like, what are you doing? And Flukeman says, bring back spanking. Yeah, they should cane people here like they do in the Philippines. That'd back that off. Caned in the public square. Now, this is something someone brought up earlier, and I was prepared to talk about that today, actually. Washington Examiner, White House pressed on San Francisco's homelessness cleanup ahead of Xi's visit. And it says, is the president embarrassed that the American city needs to go through a total makeover to be presentable for his out-of-town guests? A reporter asked National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan during Monday's White House press briefing. Sullivan did not answer directly, instead pointing to the generally healthy U.S. economy at large. It's not healthy, so that's a lie. The president is incredibly proud of the record that the United States will bring as host to this summit, he said. The strongest economic record of any developed country, the lowest unemployment over a sustained period in half a century. Do you believe that? Do you believe any of that? The Asia Pacific Economic Corporation Summit will host an expected 20,000 CEOs and heads of states in San Francisco this week. San Francisco Mayor London Breed has argued that the conference will bring in almost 53 million, which could revitalize the city's economy. 53 million isn't going to help you when you're spending billions. Okay, London? Just making the point. But the cleanup is leading to some awkward questions about priorities. The reporter pressed Sullivan a second time. Governor Gavin Newsom said of this cleanup this: I know folks are saying, oh, they're just cleaning up the place because of all those fancy leaders are coming to town. That's true, the reporter said. Does President Biden agree it's more important to impress the leader of China than the American people that live in San Francisco and pay taxes every day? Sullivan replies, first, I completely reject the premise of your question, he said. But secondly, I don't know the context of what Governor Newsom said, so I won't respond to it. He knows. He knows. And yes, they did. They're cleaning up because Xi Jinping is coming. Okay, as well as these other people. They leave it looking like shit for years. Nobody cares. Okay. And when they do have to clean something up, they just shift it around the corner, hose the street down, and then the people come back. Now you want to put on a show as if Xi Jinping and all of these other people that are coming don't already know that San Francisco is a shithole. Like they don't know this. Like they haven't seen it. And it's probably amusing to them that it's being cleaned up to pull the wool over their eyes. Like that's really going to happen. Keisha says the very people that are against the police are the first ones to call them. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like we have an alternative. I don't want to call the police either, but what am I supposed to do? It's not like there's Fred's police service that I can call instead of the municipal police or the sheriff's office. Hey, Fred, can you come down here? I don't trust the sheriff's office. No problem. I got you, buddy. That's not going to happen. Furthermore, you can get in trouble yourself for not calling the police in certain circumstances. Monkey says it's pronounced she. Oh, I see X and I think Z sound. That's why I'm reading it incorrectly. Helter says it takes a trade summit for San Francisco to clean up its shithole. San Francisco is just sweeping dirt under the rug and everything will be the same as soon as the summit is over. And they're talking about possibly making $53 million. That's a drop in the bucket when you compare it to the amount of money that they spend, the amount of tax dollars that get wasted. Rodney says they're trying to make San Francisco a temporary Potemkin village. Yes. And that was mentioned earlier. Bingo says, I want to know where they took all those homeless. They just shifted them somewhere else. You push them away and they'll just wander off somewhere else, but they'll be back. They'll be back. All you can do is shift them around. It's like roaches. I know that sounds mean, but that's what it is. When you hire the exterminator to come into your home to get rid of insects, okay? I have roaches. Let me call the exterminator, and he comes and he sprays and sprays. And especially in apartment buildings. This is a big one. I grew up in Boston. Never lived in an apartment building anywhere in Boston that wasn't infested with German cockroaches. Okay. I used to hate that. Haven't had that problem since leaving Massachusetts. Never had to deal with it again. But in those inner cities, there's a lot of roaches. You can't kill them like that. The sprays, the poisons. Oh, they take the poison back to their nests. They don't have a nest. All right, they live freaking anywhere. The poisons don't work. If you spray them directly, it'll kill them because they breathe through the slits in the sides of their bodies. That's how most insects breathe. It's an absorption process. It's not really breathing. So if you spray them directly, they'll die. But spraying around, they'll just move away and then they'll come back. That's how that works. That's, the only way you can really get rid of them is to either suffocate them or freeze them out. Especially roaches, because they're tropical insects technically. But yeah, you freeze them out. If it was like 12 degrees outside and you had roaches in your house, you open all the windows and leave it for a couple of days, they'll all die. Or total fumigation where they're completely suffocated. As we move along. Keisha says, do you see where the government's installed new ethics? Yeah, they're adding pronouns now, right? Dragon says, San Francisco sending the homeless people away, destroying what little they possess in the process, making their lives even harder. Nothing to celebrate. Deanna says, I noticed some comments don't come through on my live chat screen. Yeah. Well, there is a thing, though. This is on 2 channels, and I can see the comments from both, but there's some finagling you have to do to see all the comments from both channels, unless ScrewTube is just removing certain comments, which they do sometimes. And Rodney says San Francisco will never improve unless there is a major policy shift, and I don't see that happening while Democrats control the place. No, and they're in bed with all those big tech billionaires that are buying up huge areas of land to make their so-called utopian cities that they've been working on. And I think they're trying to destroy a lot of California to make it cheaper for these guys, and they have some kind of deal going with the politicians that run that state. And that's a conspiracy theory, but I like it. And Deanna says, thanks for the explanation. No problem. Like I said, there's a way to do it, but I don't remember how it works. Where if you're watching on YouTube, you can adjust it so that you can see the comments from both sides. And speaking of migrants, and this comes from El Paz, correct? Talking about Turkey. And it says xenophobia grows in Turkey, tens of thousands of deportations and human rights violations. Say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. Economic crisis and the xenophobic narratives of media outlets and political parties, primarily among those linked to the opposition, have spurred anti-immigrant sentiment in Turkey. With next March's municipal elections in mind, which will determine the next administration of major cities like Istanbul and Ankara, current President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, I think that's correct, has strengthened immigration laws and authorized massive detentions that have captured and deported tens of thousands of foreigners. These operations, according to denouncements from lawyers and activists, fail to respect basic human rights. We are frightened. Many of us stay locked in our homes, but to pay rent, you must go out and fight. Fight? Who are you fighting? The problem is, if you leave your home, you don't know if you will return, says a Nigerian pastor who requested anonymity due to the sensitivity of the situation. The majority of his peers in Turkey, he explains, earn their living through buying products that they send to their home country for resale. So you scam people. You got some kind of black market bullshit going on. Is that what it is? But every time they go to the markets, the resale vendors run the risk of being stopped at one of the new mobile police checkpoints. These are part of the new Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya's plan to combat irregular immigration. Irregular immigration, you mean illegal immigration, right? Which begins this summer in Istanbul and is being extended to Turkey's other major cities. There are checkpoints in the markets, in the bus and metro stations, and the arrests are massive. There are so many Nigerians in the deportation camps. Many of them are legal residents, but they can't renew their visas or they're not being approved, says the pastor. Okay, so if they're legal residents and you're talking about them not being able to renew their visas, then the assumption there is that the visas have expired because he says they're not being approved. So these people's visas have expired, which means they're not legal residents anymore. Just to clarify, according to statistics from the Interior Minister, since mid-June, 112,000 undocumented foreigners have been detained, of which 48,000 have been deported. Lawyers and activists consulted for this article stressed that among the detained are asylum-seeking individuals, people who are where? It's popping up and down because of the ad. Hold on. Made me lose my space. Who are in the process of renewing their residency permits, and even those whose documentation is in order. In addition to those who have been deported, a large number of foreigners have left Turkey in recent months in the face of ever-growing obstacles to renewing immigration permits. Thanks to our exhaustive immigration laws, and this is really good news, 120,531 foreigners whose visas or residency permits have expired have left our country, knowing that we were going to detain them, celebrated Yerlikaya in October of 12th. These operations to combat irregular immigration focus on effective in-country apprehension and the establishment of an efficient and expeditious deportation mechanism, a source from the Interior Minister of Turkey tells this newspaper. The objective, they affirm, is to reduce the pressure of irregular immigration and create a deterrent effect. Turkey is home to 1,130,000 foreigners with residency permits, 225,000 less than at the beginning of the year. Okay, so so you have a bunch of I guess it's primarily Nigerians in Turkey that they're having the issue with. You got a bunch of Nigerians that are there illegally. You have a bunch of Nigerians that are there with a work visa or a visitation visa pass or something like that have expired, that are applying for an extension and they're not getting it. And rather than leaving on their own, have to be rounded up and thrown out. And that the primary source of income for these people is to go out and fight, apparently, is what the priest said, whatever that means. But evidently what it boils down to is like black market stuff, because they're buying stuff in the marketplace or obtaining things in the marketplace and shipping them back to Nigeria to sell. How much does that cost? That doesn't sound plausible at all. Oh man, Monkey says the person that spoke about it in Turkey sounds like they pay via partaking in the Fight Club. No kidding. Keisha says I had a number from Turkey call my phone yesterday. I know no one there. It'll be a scam. Do not answer that call. They'll tell you that you owe money to like some phone company or the IRS or something and try to get you to buy gift cards. They'll tell you they're from Publishers Clearinghouse and that you want a car. All People says anytime citizens do not want their nation invaded by the foreigners who have no care for or loyalty to that nation or citizens, the leftist media and traders falsify it as xenophobia. It's not xenophobia for them to want to stop illegals from coming into their country and disrupting things. Rodney says, so places like Turkey can deport illegals, but in the West we cannot. Got it. Exactly. Now you got it, Rodney. And then when Turkey does it, they're the bad guy. Oh, and they say illegally. Hold on. They said illegally, right? Oh, human rights violations. Excuse me. Tens of thousands of deportations and human rights violations. What exactly are the human rights violations that have happened here? You have people that are in the country illegally, and you threw them out. You arrested them, detained them, and repatriated them. You had people who came to the country on some kind of a visa, because it didn't specify they were work visas. It could have been a visitation visa, which could be 3-6 months. It depends on the country. It could have been a visitation visa or a work visa or a visa for education, a school visa, something like that. Some kind of authorization to be in the country as a non-citizen. And the visa is expired and you didn't leave. And they're like, well, you need to get out. And then they're like, well, I want to reapply. No, too late. Get the hell out. I don't see where there's a human rights violation here or anything illegal going on. And if Turkey wants to get rid of people who are being a burden to their citizens financially or otherwise, I'm not mad at them. Flukeman says left-wing media criticizing and showing videos of people climbing over Trump's wall with ladders bought from Walmart. You can climb anything with the right equipment. Common sense, non-existence. Nature Nerd says every country outside of Europe and North America can remove their illegal immigrants and protect their borders. All countries can do that, but countries like these, Turkey, Pakistan, we've talked about Pakistan a few times in the last few weeks, they don't care what anybody thinks. You want to talk bad about them in the newspaper? Okay, fine. So what? Talk bad about us. We're still going to clear these people out. We don't care what you think. That's the attitude. In the West, Western leaders don't care either, but they have to save face by pretending that they do. They have to pretend that, they have to put on an act, put on this facade. And it's detestable. They don't really care. You think Biden cares, or any of these lawmakers care, if people at the border start getting turned away? But they got to act like they care because they think it benefits them somehow, even if it's just a pat on the back from the media. That's what they're going to do. Nature Nerd says Turkey is a part of the EU somehow. That's why Turkey protecting their borders is controversial. Indeed. As we get back to the United States, I'm sure you've seen this by now. You guys had to have seen this. And this particular article comes from Newsmax. Newsmax! Petition slams Macy's parade for alphabet agenda because they're being very political this year, the Macy's parade. Their agenda, or on their plans for the parade, they have made allocations for trans and for drag queens and for alphabet people of all kinds. And everybody's like, wait a minute. Slow your roll. 1 Million Moms is sponsoring a petition signed by some 17,000 people condemning, I think it's more than that, I don't know how old this article is, condemning the alphabet agenda and indoctrination in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade this month. The National Review reported Monday. The group, a division of the American Family Association, wrote in its petition, the non-binary and transmogrified extravaganza on display this Thanksgiving will be brought to you by Macy's during their annual sponsored Thanksgiving Day Parade. Unless they are forewarned about it, this year's holiday parade will potentially expose tens of millions of viewers at home to the liberal alphabet agenda. The petition noted that self-described non-binary performers from Broadway musicals will be on display at the parade, which the group declares liberal nonsense. One such performer scheduled to appear at the parade is Justin David Sullivan, whose artist page states, to every queer, transmogrified, non-binary, or person of color in the audience, this performance is dedicated to you. So no one else, right? Just alphabet people. That's all he cares about. Sullivan, who declined eligibility at the 2023 Tony Awards because the categories are divided into male and female, prefers pronouns. Oh, how long before they change the Tony Awards now then? He told Playbill, there's nothing more that I want to empower the non-binary people to show that it's possible to be non-binary on Broadway, play a non-binary character on Broadway, and be nominated and possibly potentially awarded. I felt like I couldn't choose. I didn't feel right being in either category because it didn't resonate with me. Yeah. Must be nice. I don't resonate with being a human being listening to this garbage every day. 2 years ago, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade features pop singer Kim Petras, a male deemed the world's youngest transmogrified for undergoing surgery with special permission at age of 16 in Germany, where the minimum age for such procedures is 18. I don't know anything about that. I've never really watched a parade, to be honest, because I've always thought of them as being incredibly boring. But how hard is it? Why do you need to do all this? Why can't you just have some balloons and some floats and some marching bands and play your music and go? Isn't that what a parade is? Why do we have to showcase certain socio-political agendas like this? So, and if you are going to do that, if you are going to have a political agenda, then you do need to specify that and call it out in advance. So I agree with 1 Million Moms on that. Let people know, because you know what? A lot of people don't want to see this. A lot of people don't want to see it. Preparedness is looking back, one wonders which events are responsible for the path that led us to this chaotic situation we find ourselves in today. You can blame ABC television. And it started on ABC with Soap and Too Close for Comfort. I think Too Close for Comfort was also an ABC show. Yeah, I haven't seen Too Close for Comfort since I was like, I don't know, 7, but they had a gay character. I believe it was a gay character as a roommate for the two girls. And it was a show with Ted Knight. And then also on Soap, which was a 70s show, you had Billy Crystal playing a gay character. And the stereotype of all gay men being the Anderson Cooper type comes from that. That's where it started in the mid 70s or late 70s on the show Soap. Great show. Good character who actually was more so bisexual than gay. Portrayed by Billy Crystal when he was still young. But, of course, highly intelligent, professional, well-dressed, so on and so on. And that's the stereotype that's always been portrayed, again, the Anderson Cooper type, by the media ever since. But it's an anomaly because the majority of them do not look or act or sound that way. But yeah, that's really the first instance I can think of. Monkey says, why does person of color belong on the list of genders? Good question, Monkey. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe that person is a person of color or identifies as one. Monkey says, is Caucasian or Polynesian a gender now? I guess. Keisha says they do it because everybody's supposed to be woke now. And Deanna says bosom buddies. That's right, because they were pretending to be female on Bosom Buddies, and that was Tom Hanks, and I forget the name of the other guy, and that's another 70s show. Late 70s, correct? But they didn't think they were female. They were doing it to be deceptive so that they could get a cheap apartment. That was the premise of the show, but they got stuck having to constantly dress in drag to pretend to be women. And they obviously were not women. You could look at them and say, wow, those are two ugly dudes in dresses. And the joke was that no one else could figure it out. Kind of like when the Three Stooges were in drag. They looked pathetic. But everyone was fooled because that was the joke. Dragon says conservative Christians will always find something to be enraged at. Convenient targets are new trends in social norms, popular culture, and new developments in science. And all people, says Skittles Rainbow Community has an obsession with parades, story time, corporate sponsorships. Well, they do have an agenda by which they are targeting children, quite frankly. Rodney says all these weirdo parades are intended to attack traditional culture. The fact that so many companies keep pushing it shows that there is an agenda and funding behind it. Urban says I must admit that if I walk by a storefront that has more than 2 rainbow flags, I don't go in because sometimes I just want to aimlessly shop and take a break from thinking about agenda politics. Politics. And yeah, I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to either. I don't need to know what your politics are. Just sell your goods. Just have your parade. Sell your phone. Sell your chicken. Whatever the hell it is. You don't need to prove anything to me. I don't care. Most people do not care. But you are going to sit there to and try to pander to a fringe minority of people who don't give a shit about you ultimately. They don't care. And who is this article from? Western Journal, excuse me. This also came up earlier. Western Journal, excuse me. Title: Failures of All Humanity. Las Vegas teen mercilessly beaten by gang of 15 in horrific viral video has died from his injuries. A couple more comments here real quick and I'll dive into this. Nature Nerd says when people lived on farms and raised animals, no one was confused about gender differences. In cities with modern conveniences, people are disconnected from reality and it's easy to fool people. Keisha says, I think politics needs to stay out of entertainment as well. I agree. But back to the article here, and that's the picture of the kid. You can't really see him. It's a terrible photograph, by the way. Not trying to take away from what happened, but the picture they put up of this individual looks absolutely dreadful. Not that you can even see it because they're being weird about it. And finding film footage of this has been extremely difficult. Everywhere it goes up, it gets taken down. A Las Vegas teenager is dead after a brutal beating at the hands of a gang of 15 youths. Jonathan Lewis, 17, was pronounced dead Tuesday after the gang attack outside of Rancho High School on November 1st, according to Fox News. Videos of the ruthless attack were shared on social media. At least 2 spectators appeared to stand by during the assault, content to film the act of violence without interfering. They were putting it on like the TikTok and whatever. A GoFundMe set up by the victim's father, also named Jonathan Lewis, indicates the teen's attackers targeted him for standing up for the victim of a robbery at the hands of the same group. Lewis was an aspiring artist. Lewis's father said his son was originally attacked by a smaller group who were seemingly unable to overwhelm without an overwhelming numeric advantage. A couple of people attacked him. They weren't able to hurt him enough, and they all attacked him at once. Victim's father indicated that authorities plan to charge several of the assailants involved in the killing with murder. And this is the important part. No arrests have been reported as of Friday. There's still no arrests. The one thing that's being skipped over on this article, can you guess what it is? Can you guess what it is? What's not being said here? And you're going to know what it is when I show you the video clip that I have been able to find a small clip. It's short. It's like less than 10 seconds. Every clip I found, it's either gone or it gets taken down after I copy it. Okay. Keisha says why they attacked him. They attacked him for defending another kid. It doesn't explain it very well. There was another kid that was getting beat up. This is in front of the high school. Another kid was getting beat up, a much younger boy, and he jumped in there to try to pull him out. And they attacked him instead. They turned on him. And I'm going to go ahead. I hope this link still works as I try to get it to load. like I said, I've had a lot of trouble finding it. It pops up and it disappears. They keep taking it down. Hold on. I got it. It's still working. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for you here. So that you can see it. For those of you who are able to see. And then I'll talk about it in a moment. There it is. And this is courtesy of the Hodge twins. Their clip is still up. And I think there's audio, but here we go. That's him on the ground in the red. And you saw the other boy got away and ran. He was trying to get in there, but then that's this boy, also tried to get in there, and he got hit in the back of the head a few times and runs away, right? So there was someone else involved who escaped it. Notice anything? It's pretty obvious. Rodney says we're descending into an era that is WROL, and that's accepted. If you defend yourself, then you get arrested right away. Urban says regarding the 15-on-1 fatal attack, the obvious meme is imagine if the colors were reversed. There you go. And Raccoon says same thing happened to a homeless woman who was raped and beaten to death by a group of teens. It was recorded and passed around at school. What is with teens nowadays? No discipline, don't care about anything, no respect for anything. Yeah, the 15 people that beat him to death were all black. He was a white kid. The kid he was trying to save was a white kid. And the other kid who tried to get into it and ran off that I pointed out was also, I believe, white. Everyone else that was attacking was black. He had severe head trauma. And I think ultimately the boy died of a heart attack. He was beaten so badly he had heart failure, and that's why he died. And again, if this was a black kid and it was all whites, it would be international news. The article wouldn't even say it. Would not say that they were black because it never came up. Number two, there have been no arrests. Not one, not yet. You have 17 people involved. 15 beating on these kids and 2 filming. And you heard them laughing and giggling and carrying on. And they put it on their social media. So 17 people on camera, not just the cell phone footage, but there's a public school involved here. You're going to tell me they don't have outdoor cameras? You can't tell me that the police, at the very least, can't track the social media, quickly discover whose phone was used, and go corner that person and find out. I see Mars has joined us. You're a little late, Mars, but glad you could make it. And Keisha says no home training. Yeah, that's a lot of it. And the thing is, from the parents' perspective also, that allow this kind of thing to go on, because it's not just this. There's fights and attacks and burglaries and riots and all sorts of things going on with the youth in this country and others all the time now. It's nonstop. You raised a spoiled, undisciplined human wastrel. You take no responsibility for it. And that child you're either afraid of them or you condone their actions, and neither is acceptable. And sooner or later, it's going to catch up to these people, and they're going to be like, I don't understand. I don't understand the problem. You're the problem. Mars says, thanks, dude. Sorry for being late. I didn't get the notification. That happens a lot. It's no problem. And it'll be on the recap. You can go back and watch it again if you'd like to. Not picking on you or anything. I know that happens a lot with ScrewTube, and they don't let people know. Urban says in Surrey, British Columbia, when gang violence happens, they never say if it's a Muslim gang or Sikh gang. And Deanna says, witnessing a crime, not reporting, and then uploading the video is disgusting. I agree. And Paul says, always a good day when I'm able to get your show. Keep up the good work, brother. It's not falling on deaf ears. I'm trying. I'm trying to get it out there. I know I'm mostly preaching to the crowd, but all I can do is give you an honest opinion. That's all I can do is give you an honest opinion. And that's where we're left off. And I will go ahead and start wrapping things up. Say thank you to everybody who was able to join us today. This is Coffee Talk. Of course, that's at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, as well as Prepper University on YouTube, or at Coffee Talk Chat on Twitter, and Fistful of Radio. That's fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 and Friday at noon. And I'll say again, thank you to everybody who was able to join us today. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And I will catch you again tomorrow.